I'm good.
Oh, I need
Oh.
to your friend. You might be good, but yours isn't good.
All right, we'll turn on their microphones. All right, welcome to our first October meeting. Tonight's meeting is probably going to be a fairly short one. We will start as usual by doing the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. We'll start by reviewing and signing payroll and accounts payable. For the period ending 9/28/24, we had payroll in the amount of $42,870.36. You're gonna break out in song?
Yep.
Cool. So payroll in the amount of $42,870.36. We had accounts payable in the amount of $27,447.31. We did have standard ACH payments to both Swayze and the co-op. The Swayze payment was $255,000. The co-op was $692,191. Thank you. Have a nice evening. Next, I'll take a motion to review and approve the consent agenda.
Moved.
Second.
Any discussion? In tonight's consent agenda are public minutes from 9/24, non-public minutes from 9/24, which are sealed, the rec manifest, the treasurer's report, and building permits. We have a motion and a second.
I just
on
have
this.
one alibi on it. The vote for the powers discussion just needs to be changed. I circled it 311, I think.
Okay, let me just see where that is.
One more, yeah, right, top right.
Correct. Yep. So with that amendment, any other discussion?
Let me just see what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was just the vote because I abstained from the Powers family that were asking for a refund. So it's just a correction to indicate that there was one no and one abstention on that.
Thanks.
Yep. Any other discussion or changes? We have a motion and a second on the table to approve as amended. All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Aye. And I'm an aye, so we will pass that. Next, we will open for public comment at 6:04 p.m. Anyone interested in making a public comment? Looks like a no, so we will close public comment at 6:04. We'll move on to discussion action items. We had a non-public plan for tonight with legal counsel, but that has been changed due to a scheduling conflict. So that did come off of our agenda since it was originally published. So we had asked this year before we even started individual budgets to try to take a look at ballpark overall budgets, and it looks like that's what Karen has gathered for us today. I think my request of the board is to, if we're going to have a discussion of this tonight, to have sort of a high-level goal-setting discussion rather than a nitpicky discussion, because we're obviously going to do that at some detail in future meetings with each of these budgets. And so I would open the floor for discussion of the proposed budget estimate, and maybe first turn it over to Karen if you have anything to say or clarifications or explanations about this.
So all of the salary adjustments that are in here have been done at the 5%. So
Just to maximize.
just to
Yeah.
maximize so that you can see that there is no increases for insurance or for benefits. Those rates won't be set until the end of October. So those are all in here as level funded for our placeholder. The road construction, the 350 that is normally a warrant article, that was moved into the operating budget. That remains in the budget this year. The cruiser is in here. The 10th officer that was encumbered funds last year, that's moved in here. So those are sort of some of the bigger changes And the fire department has proposed some wage adjustments based off of the ALS agreement, so that is reflected.
That's in here? Okay.
I think all of those moving parts are still needing to be fine-tuned, but those are some estimates that are in here.
Do you know if those adjustments in the fire department are just for the existing 4 slots that we have, or if they're adding positions as well?
As far as my discussions with Joe, it is just the 4 that we have right now.
So there are just adjustments. And one question I had is, I know you had mentioned at one point that you had adjusted our debt service. Was that was on the known conservation property and a potential second one? Did you put that one in there, or did you just kind of ballpark it for that?
The second one is in here with an estimate of a $250,000
Okay.
bond.
So that's a future estimate of what you think is
Yes.
coming down the pike, okay.
Yes, and the fire station principal can be reduced using impact fees.
Right,
I just put in what the principal payment should be.
if it was the full amount.
Yes.
Okay, so some of this really is ballpark and not actual what it will look like at the end. Okay, board question or discussion. Some of these things obviously we knew needed to be in the budget, like a plan for police vehicle replacement that had not been in the budget in the past, and some additional personnel, but obviously there's always surprise increases as well.
And the grant writer is in here at the full, I did $85 an hour times 8 hours a week for the full 52 weeks, just in case. And then I still left in the $20,000 that was in the expenditure offset. So
Oh, okay.
So that's an assumption
So
that
that won't-
we use that person for the whole calendar year?
Yeah.
Okay. John felt strongly about that one.
Let's try that again. Yeah, so that probably will not be the total
So
amount.
some of these will be adjusted. Okay. Questions for Karen about any major changes that people saw in here?
So what would the total, I mean, I'm doing it right now, but do you know what the total increase would be?
12%. At least on the bottom,
Calculate
the last
that
page.
myself. And
Yeah, we'll need to get that
11 or
down.
12?
It's like 12.1 or something like that when I calculated it out. Difference. It's an increase of 768,000 approximately. Which is a lot.
Yeah, my comment is
a
that
lot.
that's a problem.
That's
Yeah.
too much.
That's my,
Yeah,
Well,
it's also not the exact
I
number
would like
based
to
on some
know
of the caveats.
why, right? Like, if it's because we're paying people, then that's okay.
not at 12%.
Why?
I think, we have to figure out if we're going to put a budget in front of the people that is a 10 or 12% increase, we have to make sure that we can sell that to the public, right? So it's like the individual number is what it is, but we need to make sure that we think that these are all things that are non-negotiables for the town. And if so, then we need to do the hard work of making sure that the people paying these taxes agree. So the
Oh,
number.
yeah, no, I guess I was just saying if a large part of that is COLA and merit, then I wouldn't touch that, I guess I would say.
Yeah, I don't think that's the biggest. From looking at it, the biggest single contributor is police, which we knew it would be because we knew an additional officer was going to fall in this year, and we knew about the car replacement plan. So we knew those 2 big ticket items were coming into the police budget. So that's one of the biggest increases. And I think, the initial sticker shock, I'd have to agree with you, like, that sounds like a big number, right? And to Karen's point, some of these are rounded up and extrapolated, so not necessarily the final number that we will come out with.
Well, moreover, it sounds like there's still insurance to be
Yes, correct.
addressed, and that gives, further cause
Correct.
for concern.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to really get down into the weeds of it at this point,
Mhm.
nor do I think you expect us to. I'm
Yeah, I
just making
don't
a
think-
general, comment.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
About
Here.
400,000 of the increase is the 10th officer, the cruiser, the conservation bond,
Yep.
and your trash contract.
Right,
Just those 4 things alone is making up about half of the increase.
right. Yep. And that's the kind of communication I think that's really important for us to do to the public. So like the conservation bond, the public has already supported. So that increase in the budget, they've already voted for. The trash, we have no ability to change.
You have a legal obligation to pick up trash
Right.
outside.
Exactly.
And we got really lucky the last go-round because we
did, yeah.
executed that contract in 2019. And so those major increases that most people felt during COVID, we're realizing now. It's kind of a catch-up game.
Right. Yep. So I think some of these things, to your point, some of this is about communication with the public, and some is about us really deciding with all our department heads if there's wiggle room in any of these budgets. But I know that our department heads work pretty hard to try to limit increases as much as possible.
I appreciate that in general, but I think we need to be careful that we're not putting ourselves in a bad situation. Like, so example, fire department, there's the ALS situation.
Yeah.
Based on conversations we've had with chief, it might make sense to hire another person or two. So that obviously is gonna even.
What's the current, moving forward, what's the current plan in terms of how Brentwood and other towns are going to make adjustments for that projected ALS closure? Is Joe going to come to us at some point with a proposal? I know you guys had a little meeting briefly about some of that. I feel like I don't understand what the next steps are for that in terms of, I think Joe had said that'll impact our budget maybe next year, was what he had told us at the department head meeting. Is that still the thought, or is thought that some of that will, you kind of mentioned that maybe some of that trickles into this budget?
Well, I think there's a short-term plan that they will have to do some wage adjustments,
Okay.
right, to attract paramedics. The real issue is that a paramedic and a firefighter are not cross-trained to do the same
Correct,
function.
yeah.
And so to Letty's point, if you really need medics on staff, you probably have to grow your staff.
Right.
And to make that rotation actually work, you're going to need 4 or 6 of them.
Well,
And they're
and-
paid a lot more than
Yeah.
our current firefighters.
Right.
And it's kind of like what we did with the police department, where like we knew where we were trying to get to, and kind of the steps in between
Sure.
of how long it would take to get there. So I think that's probably.
But I think those conversations are a little early. Chief Bird is working with Chief DeAngelis in Epping, Chief Warren in East Kingston. So I think, they have the chiefs on the 125 corridor. He's been meeting with SECO chiefs, so they're trying to figure out some sort of arrangement that will work more regionally.
Gotcha. Okay. Do we know if anything's happening at the Rockingham County level?
They had discussed that briefly at the meeting in Epping, but I don't know that any real forward steps can be made. And even if that's the case, that's going to be months in
take
the
time.
contract
Yeah.
negotiations.
Yeah, a lot of time.
So the county runs a fiscal cycle, so their budget was just approved, so they wouldn't be able to even look at that until June of
Following
next
year.
year,
Okay,
July of next year.
gotcha.
The recycling line's blank. Are we not doing recycling anymore?
No, we are, but I was given like a ballpark figure and not a broken down what was recycling and what was trash, so I just threw in the lump sum in one line item
Oh, for the
to represent the total increase that we're
Gotcha.
expecting to see in a contract.
Gotcha.
Just again, high level question. This year's budget was 6,298,000, and requested next year 7,066,000. When it says this year actual of 4,271,000, is that through 3 quarters, or is that estimated through the end of the year?
That's through 3 quarters,
Today.
that's just year to date.
today.
So,
And
The
some
fourth-
of that hasn't hit that number yet.
right.
Correct.
And I'm sorry, just to follow up, the fourth quarter, is it expected to be basically level? Or?
The fourth quarter is generally the largest quarter, so you will, because New Hampshire retirement is generally 2 months behind, fuel is generally 2 months behind. In December, you'll also receive the big county bill, which is about $700,000, just that one bill alone. So Q4 is generally a big expenditure month.
Is there an estimate as to what the year will end with?
In the past, historically, we've left the year with about $500,000 unexpended.
Is that including encumbrance, before or after encumbrances?
Usually after encumbrances. The encumbrances are usually only about $100,000. It's generally not a large ticket item.
It sounds like, though, if the fourth quarter is a heavier amount, that may not occur this year, because if we went at the same pace, it would bring us up to around 5.6, 5.7, which is at that
500,000.
600.
That's what we were
Wow.
last year. Last year, we hit 5.7, so we didn't expend 591,000 of our overall allowed budget.
Well, I guess we'll have to see, but it sounds.
That
like
must
it
have been
might-
after encumbrances.
Yes.
Believe probably so, yes.
Sounds like there'll be less of a margin though, if there's a fourth quarter like
A
you're
heavy
talking
spend.
about.
There might be less of a margin this year, yeah. Other big picture thoughts or questions about the bottom line here?
Karen, can this report be run with percentage for line items?
The percentage increase?
Yeah. And then just emailed so like we can have it electronically too, please.
And when do we get insurance, like late October, November?
The end of October.
End of October. Are we hearing any rumors about what that might look like?
Not yet.
Okay.
And I did ask if we could expect the same or similar as an increase last year, and I would not expect it to be as large, but
Hopefully not.
Where did we end up with the school?
we can't join the school because the SAU would need to get, because the way that they're rated, it is with all of the towns that are in the SAU, and so they would need to get permission, or they would have to get the authority from all of the towns in the SAU to all go on board and be in their rating system.
It's a different pool.
Yeah.
And we'd also have to transition to a fiscal year budget instead of a calendar year budget.
Right, okay.
Probably.
Our pools with small towns our size and the schools must be with SAUs with their similar size.
And when do we anticipate setting the tax rate?
The tax rate's usually set at the beginning of November.
Okay.
So I just received the utility numbers yesterday. Those have been inputted into the assessing system, so I need to complete the MS1. That's generally the last step before we're put in the queue for DRA to approve everything to
Okay.
get ready to set our tax rate.
Okay. All right. Other comments or big picture questions about the estimated budget?
You'll have a tummy ache.
Well, I mean, anytime you see increases like this, it's always sticker shock, even if you, I mean, we knew that some of these things were going to be in here, and some of these things have the support and the consent of the public. So a lot of this is about communication and making sure that people understand why the budget looks the way it is and why these are things that in some cases they've already supported publicly. Because I think sometimes it's easy to forget that when a new budget comes along. So some of this is just about us communicating and then also trying to rein things in where we think it's safe and effective for the town. Sometimes you can't do that. So we will see how the budgets pan out. But I think this is helpful to get just sort of a baseline so we can think about which budgets are likely, some are totally flat and some have pretty large increases, most of which I think we anticipated. So I wasn't shocked to see each individual ones, but when you get to the last page, it's always a little tough. I think everybody probably feels that way.
Well, yeah, and then, I hear what you're saying, that, there were things that were supported, but then, that's in isolation until you see the bottom line.
Sure.
So, that could tend to erode, certain
Sure.
support.
Sure.
we've had, so.
Yeah. And some of this is tricky too because of things like growing the police force and needing to add in the car replacements. These are things that haven't been in the budget in the past, but probably should have been. The fact that there was no line item for police cars is something. So like now we're cleaning up, some historical needs. And then of course that just puts it on our plate in our budget. But I hear you. We got to try to find a happy medium here if we can, within reason. Other thoughts or comments? Okay, so Karen will get us another copy of this that has all the actual percentages because that makes it a little bit easier to go through and digest. And then our first formal set of budgets is in next week? And which budgets are we doing next week?
I think it's like legal assessing.
Right, some of the
emergency
small
management,
ones,
some of the
mostly
smaller
under
ones.
your purview, right?
Yes,
Okay, so that's gonna be on the 8th.
and those ones are level funded.
Ah, okay, so we're starting nice, okay.
Want some tax revenue? I have a land use change tax roll,
Hey, yes.
13,500.
Yes, we can move on to regular business. All right, so what are these for?
That is in Stone Creek, I believe. Sorry. This is 6 Stone Creek Drive.
And it's
the new
coming, it's a
subdivision
land
off of
use
Winter Drive.
change?
Yes, so that is land coming out of current use.
Okay. Questions or discussion about this?
And there'll be 12 more of those coming.
I'm sorry, where's this?
Which,
That's the development off of 125, the Magnuson.
oh, that new one that's being built now?
Mhm.
Oh, okay, okay, so these are coming out of, so this is the first of 12,
13.
13, okay. And then,
Has there been any discussion about paving driveway touching abutters on that particular project?
Not
This-
to my knowledge.
Okay.
what do you mean?
I'll have to ask some questions
Okay.
to the planning office
Okay.
on that.
Yep, so it looks like there's a list attached here of all the tax maps that will eventually need to come out of common use. And this is the first one, which is for a land use tax change amount of 13,500.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm going to abstain.
Okay, and I'm an aye. Oh, wait, is there a second? Just saw a little second tab. All right, any other business you have for us?
I have 3 intents to cut. One is for 169 North Road, 163 North Road, and 139 North Road.
Moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and we each have to sign these down at the bottom here. These are the ones that came by email to me initially.
2 of
Two
them
of 'em.
are, and the other one came in person.
Does too.
Which one? I don't think he's.
Oh, okay.
All right, once Letty finishes those up, what do you have next for us?
I have a request to release a quarterly payment to the Brentwood newsletter.
Okay, which is for the summer,
July, August, September, and October issue. The August-September issues, or July and August is one issue, and the September and October issue.
so July through October. Any discussion about this?
Moved.
Ooh.
Second.
Discussion?
Now can we have discussion?
Yep, now we've got to move in a second, so we can.
When did that come in?
And that came in over the weekend.
Dated 9/25.
Could we just take a minute and check in with various departments that have put stuff in to make sure that it was presented as they expected? Basically all the things.
Sure.
We couldn't sign a contract on, but they said that they were going to agree to do anyway.
I think we can absolutely do that.
Okay.
It's, do you want to make a motion to, we have a motion and a second on the table to
Okay.
approve it. Would you like to request a change to that motion or a delay to that motion?
Technically, you just said moved. I don't know what motion you were making.
I'm assuming he was moving to pay it.
To pay the bill?
Yes. Would you be amenable to a 1-week delay to review if it's meeting the agreed upon stipulations?
My only problem is I don't want to be like, oh, you're paying the bill, but back in September, I mean, in July, we had an issue. Like, we should have brought the issue up in July if we had an issue.
So are you saying that you want to review the newsletter once a month when it comes?
I'm saying that the department head should contact us if there's a problem, so that we can address it when it's a problem and not 3 months later.
Sure.
That's like giving an employee a review and gigging them on something that happened 6 months before and they never knew it happened. I mean, it's.
Are you aware of any department head concerns about things that they have submitted to the newsletter?
I am not.
Okay.
And Jim did offer to attend a meeting if the board had concerns. He would
Yep.
like to address those in person.
Okay. So we do have a motion and a second on the table, and then Letty's concern, so we can move forward, or Letty, I don't know if you want to request formally to make a different
I
motion?
will amend my motion.
Okay.
That we allow Karen to cut the check as long as there's no complaints from department heads submitted within the next 2 days.
Can we solicit
Yeah, she can ask,
feedback? Yeah, so
Sure.
ask everyone.
and then if there isn't anything, it can be in AP next week, all ready to go.
Sounds like a reasonable compromise. Do we have a second for that amended motion?
Sure.
Okay. Any further discussion on that?
Either way, Paul, it's gonna go till next week anyway, so there's.
Sure.
It
Yeah,
it
it'll get
doesn't
paid
matter.
the same way
Doesn't
either
really
way.
matter.
That's true. Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the table. All in favor?
I,
Aye.
All opposed?
Post.
And I'm an aye, so we will move forward with that as discussed and amended. Next, what else do you have for us?
On Friday, October 25th, Brentwood Rec will be hosting its annual Haunted Walk event. Like most years, the Rec Department would like to extend an invite to the Selectboard to see if any individuals would be interested in scaring, decorating the trails, and/or judging the costume contest. He would request that you contact the Rec Department with any interest or questions, or if you would like to volunteer, and we would love to see you there.
Should I be insulted that he's not asking me to be the judge again? 'Cause I was the judge the past 2 years.
wanna
Did
be
I
the
not do a
judge?
good job? The judging's very fun.
judging was on there.
Huh? No, I know, but I mean, he just said anybody
Oh.
wanted.
So I'll let
You
him know
didn't
that
get
you're
a
interested.
specific
Didn't get
invitation.
specifically invited. It is really fun being the judge. It's super fun to give the kids like the trophies. That's like my favorite part. So I will be happy to contact
I
Andy
had
about
more
that.
fun being the.
That's,
guy
I was also a
scaring.
scarer.
Yeah,
was
I
a
like the
really
scare.
good scarer last
You're
year.
gonna
being the scarer.
volunteer? Okay.
Oh, yeah. What,
It's
date?
fun. October 25th. It's definitely very fun.
Friday?
It's a Friday.
We had a really great turnout last year too. Hopefully we will again. Okay, anything else that you have for us?
That is all I have for you.
Do we know when trick or treating is?
The
I
31st,
think the day of, yeah,
Thursday this year.
Thursday.
Can we post that somewhere? I saw some.
Yeah, I think there have been
questions
some community
social.
members asking, so maybe we can just put the Facebook/website confirmation that it's on the day of. I think that'll help people. All right.
Should mix it up.
We'll now move on to any committee updates or other issues to bring before the board, and we'll start with Andy.
I have nothing currently.
John?
Nope.
Paul?
Conservation Commission has a presentation at the library on Thursday. Sort of this continuing education about the easements and the usage of easements for conservation purposes.
Intended for general education or for potentially interested parties or all of the above?
It's all of the above.
Okay,
Probably more the former, the general education.
okay. When is that?
Thursday.
Thursday.
You know the time, Janet?
Thursday, 6 p.m.? Are they going to give an update on the open space committee? I know that committee kind of was getting formed over the past couple of months. I don't know if they're ready for any updates to the public or not.
Don't believe so.
Okay.
But
7 o'clock? Next Thursday, or this Thursday? In 2 days. 7 PM, conservation presentation at the library for anyone interested. Okay, anything else you have for us?
That's it.
Okay, Letty?
Planning board's meeting on Thursday. We anticipate them being able to approve the the updated CIP so that we can use it when we start looking at budgets, and the budget committee can see it as well.
Okay. Municipal building hasn't met, nothing else hasn't met yet. Okay.
And I haven't heard anything. I know that there was the thing about the surprising number. I haven't heard that we've got any other numbers in terms of what we think the per square foot price might be.
Right, I haven't heard that either. Okay, all right. I'll give an update for BudCom. Our next meeting is going to be Monday, October 21st, and that's going to be the first meeting where budgets that have come through this board will then go to BudCom. So as Karen mentioned, it's emergency management, legal, executive office, assessing, planning board, ZBA. So those will be discussed on October 21st. What is going to be different about that BudCom meeting is it's going to be moved earlier, and it's going to happen at 4 p.m. instead of our normal 6 p.m. time, because there is a co-op budget meeting later that night. So to allow some people who might want to attend both meetings to attend both. And so that will be the next meeting, and then there will be another meeting, I think the week later on the 28th, there also is a meeting, but I will give an update on that in the future. So that's coming up in just a couple weeks. And obviously the public is always invited to attend all of these and get your questions answered well before the budgets are finalized or before town meetings. So please come if you're interested. And I think that is the only other update that I
Sorry,
have.
I have one more thing.
Yeah.
So just, we should probably let the public know, Letty, about the meeting that we
Oh,
had
yeah,
at the
sorry.
fire department.
Yeah, please.
The other day. So as a result of the ongoing discussions with, between the state and Exeter ALS and Exeter Hospital, obviously there's potential for some disruption to emergency services being provided to the town. Letty and I had a really phenomenal meeting over at the firehouse late last week, where we solicited a lot of feedback and input from most of the team that provides specifically our EMS and fire coverage, and we have come up with a handful of different options to make sure that we maintain the continuity and sustainable emergency services that the town of Brentwood can rely on as we go forward. So we'll have more on that in the coming weeks and months.
The first part of that being potential wage adjustments for the current employees, as discussed by Karen.
That is one of
many.
several options, not options, but several things that we'll have to discuss and consider as we go forward. But yeah, it was an enlightening conversation to see from their perspective and from the region's perspective how Brentwood EMS and fire is perceived, and how we can maintain, recruit and maintain our staff over there.
Any comments on that, Letty? I know you were there as well.
The only other thing I'd add is that the fact that none of the people that were in the room can pay, they all have 2 or 3 jobs, even the ones that work full-time as firefighters in Brentwood. So that felt like a problem for me.
Gotcha. Okay. Any questions for these folks about that? Okay. Any other board business? Anybody have anything else? And do you have anything for non-public for us tonight? Do we want to do a brief non-public?
Yeah.
Yes. So we're going to do a brief non-public for personnel, and I will take a motion for that.
Moved.
Second.
And we'll take a roll call vote. Andy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Paul? Letty?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, so we will go into non-public at 6:35. I know, it's like kind of scary. Yeah, make sure Karen gets back all of her info.
I think that was it.